He is a former college bass national champion. He is a Bassmaster Classic Qualifier. He's a Bassmaster Elite Series Pro that absolutely blew up the internet with his version of truth bombs this past week. This week, Jacob Foutz joins me on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, you know the deal. Welcome back to the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. I hope you're all having a great week. Thank you for tuning in here. We had a poll last week. You guys are clearly, it was like 98%. Those aren't official numbers, but around there, 98% of you said, I want to be a humper. There was some people who said they want to be mercenaries, which was a fun name, and there's a little history there. But humpers it is. This show will hopefully get you through hump day, and I appreciate you always tuning in. Lots to cover this week. We have a great guest and a great show, but lots to cover this week. A lot of the stuff that gets talked about, that gets thrown around in the comments in different situations is a lot of people have talked about ratings this year, ratings of fishing shows, ratings of competitive tournaments. And I always try to get you guys the inside scoop and let you know how things are going. And I just got this from Bassmaster a week ago. It hasn't been the rough year that everybody thought it was. Elites up 11%. College tournaments up 12%. And then the Bassmaster Opens up a whopping 74%. So the Opens obviously can be explained by the increased interest, the increased broadcast, which is getting even bigger next year and that sort of thing. So thank you all for tuning in. Now you've got digits, because a lot of times people will just throw it out there and say, nobody's watching. Well, not only are you guys watching, but more people are watching than have in the past. So thank you all for that. Some sad news this week. Sad but happy. Bradley Hallman has decided to step away from the Elite Series. You've seen him on this show. I loved having him on the Elite Series. He's a two-time qualifier for the Bassmaster Elite Series. Fought so hard through the Opens, documented that struggle, and he's decided that that was what he chased. He just doesn't, at a point in his life where he just wants to be home more. So good for him. I actually look forward to hearing more about him. He's actually on Panger's show, Bass Talk Live, so check that out. This morning that show aired, but I'm recording this before then. So we'll find out why he left and what his thoughts are on that. So check that out. Another angler that stepped away, and he was on the Elite Series, back in the Elite Series, got to finish his career with Bass, the General, Larry Nixon. Unbelievable. Came in to be part of Bass last year as part of the Legends exemption. There's 2 Legends exemptions allowed per year that the Elite Series accepts. Legends back in there. And how you'd get that is you have to have won a Classic or an Angler of the Year. And the more you win, the more chips you have, and the more chance you have to be a legend. So Larry Nixon will not be on the Elite Series moving forward. And I wish him luck, man. Every single moment I spent with him on that stage was an absolute honor. He is truly a legend of this sport. And I'm thankful he got an opportunity to finish his career with Bass. He said in the press release, really, the reason he stepped away is just health. Not that his health is bad. It's just that's a lot on somebody to compete at that level, to stay in that level. So I wish Larry Nixon nothing but the best wishes, and of course, Bradley Hallman. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, what happens with the legend spot? We have a new legend coming back to Bass. He is none other than 2-time Bassmaster Classic Champion, Alabama's very own Jordan Lee will once again be returning to the Bassmaster Elite Series, and exciting news. If you ask me, it couldn't get more exciting than Jordan coming back. I mean, went all the way through the college system, won 2 classics back to back. And it's great news that Jordan Lee is returning. And I'll let you in on this. There's more news coming from Bass. There will be more news coming from Bass the rest of this week. I'm not supposed to say this kind of stuff, but I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there's more news coming. But I'm excited about Jordan coming back, and I'm so excited that we tried this a few weeks ago with another angler, and it kind of worked. Let's do it again. Let's call up Jordan right now and see if he does not embarrass me. Here we go. Jordan Lee. Two rings. He's going to totally send me to voicemail, isn't he?
Yeah.
Jordan.
What's up?
It's Mercer. Are we going to be hanging out more this year?
That's what it sounds like. That's what the word on the street is.
You're back.
Yeah.
Excited?
I know. It's a different. It's been a while, so I mean, it's gonna be. I don't know. It's gonna take me some time to let it sink in. I think. You know.
Well, I'm excited to have you back. My big question, though, is, and I talked to you about this a lot, like, you were very good in the 3-day events. You're very good. 1, 2 classics.
Yeah.
Have you built up some stamina, and can you finally pull the trigger on a 4-day Bassmaster Elite Series event?
That's the plan. I hope I built up stamina over 10 years, over 9 years, that I can hold out maybe for a 4-day event.
Well, I hope so too. I hope so too.
At least one time. At least one time.
I think you got a few, dude. But welcome back to the Bassmaster Elite Series. Everybody's excited to have you back, and I can't wait to have the honor of announcing your greatness once again.
I appreciate that, Dave.
All right.
I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see you on and off the stage, and look forward to catching up.
All right. Can we do one of these podcasts one day?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
I mean, I've been waiting on my turn, but
well,
I guess I had to be in your circle, back in your circle again. I've been waiting though.
Hey,
the ball's in your court. It's your podcast, So I mean, you choose. So I'm waiting on that call, baby.
All right. How about next week?
Next week, let's do it.
Done. All right. Jordan Lee back on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Thank you, dude. I'm hanging up on you right now. Unbelievable news. The one and only Jordan Lee. That's pretty cool. I mean, what a great addition to the Bassmaster Elite Series. And I can say this. He knows I've said it to him. I was amazed he left. But, man, who cares about the past? We got tonight. Who needs tomorrow? We got tonight. Sorry. Jordan Lee is back on the Bassmaster Elite Series. And evidently, he's going to be next week's guest on this podcast. We'll see if he follows through with that. I'll find out here in just a little bit. But as I said, a big show here this week. And more news. More news coming from Bass later this week, okay? Just more excitement. But it's very exciting to have Jordan Lee back in our lives on the Bassmaster Elite Series. But our guest this week. Now, this show is going to be a different one because this is a Jacob Foutz. Met him on the Bassmaster stage, met him as a collegiate angler, similar to Jordan. And Jacob has been on the Elite Series now. So he fished the Classic, but then he had to go through the Opens to qualify to be part of the Bassmaster Elite Series. He did that. And he's going into his 3rd year on the Bassmaster Elite Series. He literally rocked the fishing universe last week with his announcement, basically, not an announcement, but he opened up in some videos and kind of talked about how he had dreamed of this, but the dream in some ways has turned into a nightmare because he just doesn't have the support from sponsors. He's a quiet guy. He's not somebody who gets the attention right away and steals, the spotlight. And I don't mean that in steals, but there's people where it's a lot easier. And Jacob Foutz is a quiet dude. But boy, he made a lot of noise. He has posted 2 videos. Both of them, literally before this, his number 1 video had like 900 plays. Now, both these videos, more than 30,000 plays. And he just opened up about his experience in fishing. And there's part of me that saw that video and thought, well, that's life. Like, that is how life is. Like, getting to a spot is never safe. I mean, the amount of work, like the successful professional anglers out there, the amount of work that they put into that, it's incredible. It's not just fishing. You think you're going to get there and just fish, but there's so much. It's a business. And to stand out in a group full of incredible anglers, it takes a long time. But he's taken a step, and in some people's eyes, a big risk in what he said. And just simply by being honest, by talking about how much he's garnered in sponsorship and how it's going. And if you ask me, at the same time, for people that want to look on it negatively and say, you're fishing the Elite Series. You've got this great life. You do, but he wants to make it better. And his route to try and make it better, in his opinion, is just by being open and being honest. And he speaks some hard truths, and he speaks the truth that he believes. And I think this is going to be a very interesting podcast. So, as if it hasn't been already. I mean, we had Jordan lay on the phone. I hung up on him. I sang. And now we have the one and only Jacob Foutz. Jacob Foutz, formerly the Paperboy, Bassmaster Classic Qualifier, and recently a freaking YouTube sensation, dude. What happened in the last literally week?
Gosh, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. It took off more than I ever expected. That's for sure. I definitely didn't expect the response it got. That's for sure. I feel like I turned the fishing industry on its head a little bit. I don't know, but I tell you what, all the feedback I've gotten has been phenomenal. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's it's honestly something I wish I would have came out of my shell and did a whole heck of a lot sooner than what I did.
How long was this an idea? How long were you like, I think I need to do this and didn't?
It's been on my mind for quite a while. But I mean, all year basically. I feel like it's something it's been on my mind and something that's I felt like I wanted to do, but I didn't know. I was scared of what the reception might be from the fans, my peers, people in the industry. And then, honestly, I got to a point where it's like, I don't really care anymore. It is what it is at this point. It'll probably ruffle some feathers and might piss some people off, but it's my experience. It's a lot of it's the truth based on the responses I've got from my peers. It's very telling, the response I've gotten from most everyone. Obviously, I've pissed a few people off. Obviously, I've maybe burned a few bridges, but that's how they feel. I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to ruffle some feathers, but I mean, you also were in a situation where you didn't have anything, like you say in your first video. And maybe for those who haven't seen it, I'll put the links to both his videos, who just to give you an idea of how much this is blowing up. I think when we first kind of started texting about your initial video, I believe you had like 230 subscribers on your YouTube channel. Your average video, your biggest video you'd ever done, had like 997 plays. A few of them had 300. One of them had 500. Both these videos you've done in the last week are now over 30,000 plays. You have 3,600 YouTube subscribers, which is one of the hardest things to do because people don't have to subscribe to watch your videos. So it's hard to get subscribers. Right. You have to really connect with them. Did you ever envision that it would blow up the way it has?
No, I figured it would get some attention, but I definitely didn't think it would get the feedback it has. I definitely wasn't expecting 30K views on both videos. I didn't really know what to expect. I figured it was either gonna blow up or it was gonna be about like the rest of my videos. No one was really gonna give a care. But it's something I wish I would have done a whole heck of a lot sooner. I've enjoyed it's something I've enjoyed doing it. Actually, I think I found a new passion almost. It's something I really enjoy. It's allowed me to come out of my shell a little bit. You know it as well as anyone. I don't have a big personality. I'm a quiet person for the most part. It takes a lot for me to put myself out there for people. I don't care what people think of me, but I also don't like giving people the opportunity to have things to say about me. But I've gotten to a point in my life where I just really don't care. I'm not out to, you either like me for who I am or you don't. It's one of those deals. It's when the whole reason for starting them, I think, was just I think as much as anything for me it's to help the people that want to come into the sport and do it. I feel like a lot of times we sell people a pipe dream a little bit. I don't think we don't show them all aspects of the sport, of the industry. I don't want there to be a misconception like it's not the best thing in the world. Bass fishing for a living is the best thing in the world, without a doubt. Fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series is 100% the greatest job in the world. However, I feel like we also need to put it all out there for people to see that it's not all sunshine, it's not all roses all the time. There's a lot of guys in the industry that struggle, a lot of guys that fight and have a hard time with it. And I just felt like that if we could put that out there, we could set people up for success. Like when I was coming up through the college series and then through the opens, and I didn't really know I didn't know what the industry was like. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't realize the financial burden it can be. It's no secret that fishing is not cheap. So it's something I felt like if I could put out there for people to see, I feel like, so the kids up and coming in the college series and coming up through the high school ranks and just anyone that wants to do this for a living, I think it's something they can better prepare themselves now, so they don't get themselves in the same position I'm in, where it's like, shoot, boy, I don't know if I can get to the first 3 tournaments. You know what I mean? So I just felt like if we could shed some light on it, that it would, in the long term, I might piss people off in the industry, but I felt like in the long term, it'll be a good thing for all parties.
I guess the thing that stood out that really got people for those who haven't seen the video, and like I said, I'll put the links, go watch the videos because it gets a lot more in depth at it. But the thing that stood out in the first video that really struck people is you're honest with numbers. You said in 2 years on the Elite Series, you have brought in a grand total of $7,000 in sponsorship. So $3,500 a year, I would assume, or by however it broke down. But that got a lot of people's attention. But it went in a lot of different directions. Like, because you also said in the video, you felt at one point, you said, I feel like the industry let me down. But in another point, you said, I also feel like I haven't done a lot of the things that I need to do to be successful. And if you ask me, you've done a bunch in the last week. You've gone, I mean, more people know about Jacob Foutz in the last week than probably, I mean, in several top 10s last year and everything, but because you have been a quiet person at times when you were on the Elite Series, because I look at those 2 videos and dude, you changed even in between those 2 videos. If you watch the first video and the second video, you are a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable. Do you feel like up to this point, you've kind of been playing a character on the Elites, almost to speak? Like, I think sometimes quiet guys, that's what I feel like, they're trying to give what they think people want, but it's not really who they are.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, for me, I've always been a shy, quiet person growing up. I feel like in the last several years, it's gotten better, but I've still been one. I keep to myself. I don't know why that is. I feel like after doing the videos, I feel like I'm able to, I felt like in between the first and second video, I felt like people kind of resonate with, with what I had to say. And like, it was all positive feedback. So it definitely gave me a lot of confidence that, there's a lot more good in the world than bad. I've just always had a hard time putting myself out there. Cause I just, like I said earlier, I feel like I don't like to give people a chance to have an opinion of me. I just like to, I keep my opinions to myself. But going back to what you're saying, with the industry letting me down, and also at the same time, a lot of it, 95% of it's my own fault for not adapting to what the industry is today. I feel like, I think, I think, I think once you get to the Elite Series level, the Bass Pro Tour level, I feel like guys should get a lot more than what they get. Just because you are at the highest level and you do have a lot of impact on all anglers at that level. But in today's world of social media, that's unfortunately not the way the companies, the fishing industry, that's not the way it doesn't mean as much as it used to. And it's taken me a long time to realize that it's more social media. But like I said, it's mostly been my own fault. It's a doing of my own thing. So you catch them a little better on the Elite Series. It certainly helps. And I've had my moments, and I've also had my moments where I struggled greatly. And it goes both ways. You know what I mean? So I think that it's mostly my own doing. And I tried to say that in my video. I might have come across that I was blaming the industry for my financial struggles, and it's not necessarily that's not the case at all.
I think what you're going through is normal in some ways. I just think you're one of the only people who has had the balls to say it, because but I just think it's life. Like, I think in life, people always think things are going to be happily ever after. When I get to the elites, look out. Well, and I've always explained it on this podcast. I've said it at least a dozen times. Making the elites is literally just like, remember in grade 7 and grade 8 when you were in grade school and you were the biggest kid in the school, and you guys and your friends, it was fun, your time. Well, yeah, that was great. And then you went to high school and it started all over again. And that's kind of what the Elite Series is. Like, there's that fallacy of I'm going to go there and my phone's going to blow up. I mean, there's great things that happen to anglers on the Elite Series. There's millionaires made on the Elite Series, lots of them. But like in all sports, I mean, and to defend that whole, like, they market it. If you look at how it's marketed in the NFL, they show you Patrick Mahomes. They don't show you the dude who's going to go for 1 year and leave and never, and have physical ailments for the rest of his life. And just all that he'll say is, well, I played football for a little while. Like, so it is kind of a weird, like, how do you think the industry can change to help people like you?
I feel like that I don't know that there's a whole, I don't think that I feel like in today's industry and with the way the world is today, I don't know that just being an Elite Series angler will mean anything at this point. It's social media has changed the industry, has changed the whole world in such a way that it's just everyone's marketing budget, everyone kind of tailors around their social media platforms. So I feel like it's up to us as anglers to kind of embrace that. I feel like, growing up, it was always just catch them and people are going to come to you. Well, that's not the way it works anymore. It's anglers need to adapt as well. It's not just, obviously catching them is still important. It's still a really big deal, but I feel like it's just I wish it was you make the Elite Series and companies would flock to you. I wish it was that way. I really do. But I feel like I wish the industry would come to us and give us a little more, give a lot more guys more financial help than what they do. But, you know, unfortunately, the way the economy is these days, and, you know, talking with people in the industry, a lot of companies' budgets are getting cut back a little bit, and it's just a tough time to be in the industry. So I understand it from that perspective. But I feel like at the end of the day, it mostly comes down to us as anglers to find a way to pave a way for yourself to adapt and change. And I feel like that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to find a niche for myself, do something that no one else has had the balls to do, or put it out there and put out numbers, or, you know, that's kind of my mindset. I don't feel like I didn't want to, in my videos, I didn't want to make it seem like the industry was totally at fault. Do I feel like it's a flawed system? Yes, I do. But I also feel like it is what it is. And it's always adapting and evolving. And we as anglers probably should adapt to it as well. That's just the way it is. You know, guys could call me a whiner or a beggar. I'm not begging for anything from anybody. I was simply sharing my experience and what's happened with me. And I tried to say I'm trying to adapt and do something that will change my trajectory in the industry in a positive way. Even if I have to burn a few bridges to get there, that's fine.
So how is it a flawed system?
It's a flawed system. I don't know that this is necessarily an industry problem. It's just flawed in the fact that it's saturated with so many people right now,
Yeah.
and there's only so much money to go around. And I feel like we throw I feel like we throw the term professional around a little more loosely than we used to, in terms of everyone's a so-called professional nowadays. There's so many different, you know, you got the Elite Series, you got the Opens, you got the BPT, you got the Invitationals, the Toyota Series, you got the NPFL, you got the College Series, you got the High School Series, the kayak stuff. It's just there's so many people flocking to fishing right now that want a piece of the pie, and it's also flawed in the fact that people will give an arm and a leg for next to nothing. So people in the industry see that, and they're like, well, why would I give someone $5,000 when I can get the same what am I trying to say here? I can get more from someone by giving them a discount, because they don't see the value in themselves. They think it's cool that someone's giving them a discount. So we call them patch pirates. They'll gladly put a logo on their jersey for a 10% discount and do all and promote their stuff. And I feel like we get undervalued as anglers, because it's just such a saturated industry with so many people who want a piece of the pie that, you know, maybe at the time don't necessarily deserve a piece of the pie.
When you went through you went to the Classic, you represented thousands of collegiate anglers, and one of the coolest things about that whole program, and it's changed over the years, you know what I mean? But I think at the time, you know, you got a boat and a truck to use for a year and got to fish the Opens and had a lot of that benefit to work with the dynamics of the world and stuff like that. When you went through that process, was there any kind of teaching element to that? And if there wasn't, is that something that needs to happen in the future?
I think that whole experience honestly gave me the wrong mindset of the industry, because when I won the national championship in the Classic bracket and got to do all that, it was all the companies that I worked for came to me, or I gained because of that. It wasn't me having to go out on my own and find it. And it kind of resonated with growing up, how people would say, you know, just catch them and they'll come to you. Well, that happened with that. So I kind of got the idea that's how it was. And I think it gave me the wrong mindset. And I felt like, well, gosh, if I make the Elite Series, boy, even more companies are just going to come calling. And that's just not the way it is. I feel like it could give you the wrong mindset. I feel like I think if it's out there for people to see that it's not necessarily that way, we'll set more people up for success in the long term.
Gotcha. And I definitely think that, education of the industry, because here's to play devil's advocate. And dude, I support you, but when I hear what you're saying, I look at my own life and I look at, before I ever emceed bass or anything, and still today, I host a television show.
Right.
And I look at the television shows of yesteryear when there wasn't near as many TV shows and the deals that they got and the things that they had to deliver. You look at that list and you're like, whoa, where do I sign up for this? Because, they just had to produce shows. There was an excessive amount. There was not enough shows for the sponsors. And now it's the opposite. And it's the exact same opposite in tournament fishing. Like, I don't know that it's tournament fishing in general. It is everybody's having to over deliver, do more. Like, if you look at in the past, you literally produced your 13 shows or whatever you produced a year, did a promo reel and you were done. Well, now, just like in tournament fishing, we have to have a great presence in social media, a great presence on, and not just one platform. You better be good on YouTube and Instagram and everything. Like, I feel like it's the industry overall. Like, do you think in all of this rush to grow the sport, it could be too big?
Yeah, it could. There's just so much that I feel like there's so much competition in the industry for everything. There's just there's just, like I said, there's just so much competition. I think that we could be hurting fishing as much as anything, just from the fact that there's so much going on right now. Fishing is growing exponentially, in the fact that they're just tournament fishing is becoming cool to do. People see it and they're like, man, I want to do that. And there's so much going on from everyone wants in. So there's just a lot of competition. I think it's good. I think it helps the industry for sure that there's a competition. It makes guys better in all aspects, social media wise, fishing wise. But it's just that it also hurts at the same time, just because there's so much of the same stuff out there that it becomes redundant almost.
Yeah. And in the first video, one of the things that you said is, I don't like people. I just like to fish and to go hunting. And I think that belief that is out there is no longer, like, you can't just fish and go hunting in the off. Like, it is a 12-month. Like, you look at all the people where you would, if I said, write me a list of who you think is killing it on tour, none of them are just fishing and then going hunting. It is a year-long commitment.
And it's definitely, it's a 12-month job now. There's no off season. Just because we're not fishing tournaments doesn't mean we're getting to hang out and do go hunt every day of the week and go. It's a 12-month job. This is a hard industry to be in if you don't like people. I don't dislike people. I don't like having to be an entertainer, and unfortunately, I've realized you have to be an entertainer to some aspect. I feel like you have to be relatable to people. You can't just say, I'm gonna be who I am. I'm gonna be shy and quiet, and that's just not the way it is. You can be relatable to people and put your experiences out there for people, and I think people flock to that. I feel like there's a whole fan base that has the same personality that we do as anglers, and I feel like if people see that, then they will flock to you in a way.
Well, and I'm sure you've heard me say it. I've said it at tons of meetings and different things throughout the years. Be yourself, be who you are, and be real and be honest. And I've always said, it doesn't matter what your reel is, people are like you. I mean, people will relate. And I think your videos and the success of them over the last week proves that. I mean, because you straight out said, I'm not the entertainer guy. But just by saying that, I think you become you know what I mean? Like you need a reason to connect with the anglers. Well, you've given them a reason, because everybody that, you know, feels what you feel has connected with you. But it's a weird little circle when you think about it. Like, you're not the entertainer guy, but guess what? You got 30,000 plays in the last 2 videos. You're kind of the entertainer guy, not entertaining, but just by being real and honest. And I mean, they always say nothing bad can come from being honest, but some bad did come your way.
Yeah. You know, it is what it is. I feel like I had a misinterpretation of the term entertainer. You can be an entertainer with whatever personality you have, because there's always people that will resonate with who you are as a person. You just have to be true to who you are, and be true to your values and what you believe in, and don't back down when someone challenges what you have to say. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and people will resonate with what you have. And if you just be true to who you are and true to your values. And I feel like I've realized that people share a lot of the same experiences and struggles, and people resonate with that. And I think people enjoy hearing the behind the scenes, not just the fishing. And I think I had a misinterpretation of the entertainer, because I've never felt like, because I've always looked at people like Gerald Swindle, for example. That dude can go up on stage and say something right off the cuff, and people love it. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm a calculated person. I feel like I've always had a bad stage presence, because I have to sit back and think about things before I say them. I'm very calculated in what I say and what I think, and I always felt like I couldn't be that person, because I just felt like it wasn't the right. It was people wouldn't like that. They'd be like, "Oh, this guy's boring." You know what I mean? I feel like that's not necessarily the case. I think people will either like you for who you are, or they won't. You can't please everyone, so might as well just put yourself out there, be true to who you are, go along with the people that want to support you. And if they don't, well, that's cool too. I don't really care.
Is there anything you said in your videos, now that you've seen how the public reacted to it, that you didn't get out right, or that you would change?
Not really. Everything I said was the truth. No, I don't. Not really. I shared my experience. I told the truth of how I felt about things, and that's not going to change. I think the biggest thing that upset people was about the whole guiding thing. Like, people were upset that I don't always enjoy guiding. I'm like, well, guiding is far more stressful for me than fishing the Elite Series. Just I've always felt that way for whatever reason. And I don't enjoy that and people, there were several people upset about that, and people call.
Were they past clients?
No, I haven't had any clients reach out about.
I'm just joking.
I don't know. That was a bit surprising.
I think it's the way it came out. Like, to me, like, I know the line you're talking about. I think it went something like, I have to guide in between events. I don't enjoy guiding. I don't like people. So when people hear that, I think the two things that you said that I picked up on, and I was like, it'll be interesting to see how people react to that, is that, and you're being honest, which is what you should be. But just people aren't used to that. And you said it a few times on this podcast, which as your friend, I'd say, be careful the way you say that, because I don't care means a whole different thing to a lot of people. Like, not caring but you do care, because if you didn't care, you wouldn't have taken the risk to make the video. You care enough that you did something that even with all the stuff you got through making the classic and all the hoopla and all the interviews and stuff, you've never been as true as you have been in these last 2 videos. So I think you care. I mean, you care enough that you put yourself out to the world like you did this last week.
No, I care. I care in the aspect that I've spent my whole life trying to make this dream a reality, and I could see it starting to slip away, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to pave a path for myself in whatever fashion that has to be. And I say I don't care in the fact that people's opinions don't really, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah.
They can think what they want. That's fine. My opinion and what I said isn't going to change because someone disagrees with me. People can disagree with me. That's fine.
Yeah. That's I think that's part of maturing. But, you know, like when you're younger, you really, I mean, it matters to people growing up what certain people, what the response is. And as you get older, this very podcast, there'll be somebody who says something in the comments about, I can't watch your podcast, Mercer, whatever. And my response to that always is like, not every show is for everyone. Not every podcast for everyone. If you don't like this, cool. There's 1,000 others you can go check out. But I think when people hear, I don't care, they read their own analogy. Like, I think they just take it in a different direction. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think people can spin it however they want to spin it, for sure. Like you can read that a bunch of different ways, for sure. No, I definitely care in the fact that I want to do this for a living. It's the road. I feel I got a lot of comments about, well, you should just quit. You should, if this is how you feel, you should just quit. Well, if I wanted to if I was at that point, I would have just quit. I wouldn't have put out the video saying I would have just quit. You know, I've come too far. People have sacrificed too much for me to just say, well, you know, it got hard, so I'm done. No, everyone's struggling. Everyone goes through hard points in life at some point in time. So what kind of person are you if when things get hard, you say, well, that's it for me. You know, so it's like, obviously I care. I wouldn't have put out the videos if I didn't care about trying to make a living in this industry. And I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to catching them on the Elite Series. If I don't catch them, I don't get to come back. You know what I mean? So it'll look real bad if I don't catch them next year and get kicked off. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure I put on myself just to catch them next year. So there's actually some validity to what I had to say, and it wasn't just well, that was all fine and well, but he didn't catch him good enough, so he's not even on the Elite Series anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you got to back it up on the water. I mean, that's
for sure.
And it's the same in every sport. You know, it doesn't matter what you look at. Collegiate football players. I mean, how many first round draft picks are literally gone? You know, they don't, like, it's what you do with the time that you have in front of you. You know, you have to deliver. How has and I know the answer to this, but obviously the reaction was not positive from a couple of your sponsors, correct? Yeah,
no, two of them went ahead and shot me a text and said they were going to end our relationship. And you know, when I made the videos, I thought that could be a possibility. I want to make it very clear when I say that I have no ill will. I will not have any ill will towards anybody in the industry, or especially the companies that supported me in whatever way they could with what I had done up to this point. I was definitely not taking a shot at any of them, because if I would have just come out and said it, or I would have taken it to them myself. So I didn't appreciate the way they went about ending the relationships. I thought it was, you know, I don't appreciate someone just shooting me a text when we have a working partnership. Like, you could at least have the balls to call me and sit down and say, hey, you know, we didn't appreciate it. What's your thought process? You know, what's going on? They could have reached out and at least ask the question. I didn't appreciate the fact that they just shot me a text and didn't even have the balls to give me a phone call.
Did you talk to any of your partners before you posted said video?
No, I didn't. Looking back, that was probably my biggest regret. I probably should have reached out and said, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do. Give me your thoughts before I do it." But also at the same time, the companies that have given me any money have reached out and showed their support. So the companies that got upset were the ones that it was just a product deal, or they were helping me out with a boat. And, there's no, like I said, I have no ill will towards them. If that's how they felt, that's fine. It is what it is. I know they're good people. I'm sure that my video rubbed them the wrong way, and it rubbed me the wrong way. They reached out to me. So, I wish them nothing but the best. But it is what it is.
Have you been contacted by any new companies up to this point, or had any kind of correspondence with anybody?
I've had several people in the industry and different companies reach out and show support in some way. It's been all good for the most part. I feel like there's going to be several opportunities come my way because of what I put out. I just have to keep going, keep growing.
So what is the plan moving forward with your channel?
So the plan is, like I put out, like I said in the last video, I'm going to put it all out there for people to see. I'm going to put out I'm going to show people every last dollar I spend this year, because I'm not going to disclose any companies that give me any money. I'm not going to disclose what they gave me. I'm going to just give us some total dollar amount. I've already talked to the companies about that have reached out and are going to give me some money for next year. But I'm going to have a running sum of the money I get from sponsors, and pretty much put out there every last penny I spend, how much money's in my bank account, how much money I have before a tournament, how much money I have after, how much money I spent during a tournament. Just put it all out there for people to see what it costs to fish a full year as a touring pro. And I think so far the response has been really cool. I'm gonna do a little bit of everything, I guess, with the channel. Some fishing stuff, some of that stuff, a little bit of everything. I feel like we'll see. I'm just gonna kind of experiment with it and see what works. Obviously, people have resonated with what I've put out so far, so try to stick somewhere along the lines of what it's been and where it's going along. I'm just gonna play with it. I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm gonna be mean. I think people will flock to it. It's been, I've like you said, it's been a huge growth since I think I put the video out last Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's grown exponentially in 5-6 days. So it's kind of exciting, actually.
How shocking is that to you that all this time, realistically, you've kind of done what you figure you need to do on the elites? You know what I mean? And now you've done something that very few people have ever done, if anyone's ever done. And that's what's connecting you with the people.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool that you step out of your comfort zone, and all of a sudden kind of everything changes for you. And the fact that you all of a sudden you have a lot more fans, and people want to see, you see what people want to see. I feel like it's the people. I don't feel like not everyone cares about, they don't just want just fishing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of that on YouTube, especially. It's a lot of guys putting out a lot of the same things, and I think people really want to see the behind the scenes and the stories and stuff away from the actual stuff that goes on the water. So it's been cool to see that, and it's really exciting to see that people want to hear what I have to say and what goes on. So it's been really cool. It's really exciting.
How bad did it get for you last year? Like, what was your low point? Give me kind of an idea.
I don't think I've ever been any lower on myself after the Sabine River. Confidence wise, it was shot. I was I was done, but I felt like I was done. I was as close as I've ever been to quitting right then and there. I talked myself into quitting driving home. I thought I'm like, I'm done. I'm out of money. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I I I knew going into the last three, I knew I love catching smallmouth. I'm like, if I can just get through St. Clair somehow, if I can get a check at St. Clair, I can probably make it through the rest of the year. But I knew going into St. Clair I could get there, but I didn't know how I was going to get home if I didn't catch them. I had like $900 in my bank account going into St. Clair, and it was there were some. I had so many give myself so many pep talks during practice, and just trying to stay focused and not worry about how much money was in the bank and just focus on fishing. I feel like there's a lot to be said about the mental side of the sport. Guys talk about it all the time. Or you hear people say that, man, you just got to put all that stuff behind you and just fish. Well, man, that's a whole heck of a lot easier said than done. Like, you've obviously never gone to a tournament with $900 knowing you're probably going to spend every last penny of it in gas, and have to think about, man, if I don't catch them, I don't know how I'm going to get home. There's a whole added aspect. That's a whole added aspect of pressure. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for my truck and boat. I don't like it's. That was the hardest part of the season for sure. The month and a half in between Sabine and St. Clair, that I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I was fried mentally. I was like, I knew if I didn't catch them in the last three, like really good, I was probably getting kicked off the Elite Series anyway. So it was like, do I just quit now? And like, I got a huge uphill battle here. I was like 90 something in points after Sabine, and I'm like, man, I'm better than this, but no, it's an uphill battle just to get back. And it worked out the way it was supposed to. So I feel like in that aspect, everything works out the way it's supposed to. So I feel like I was meant to be back this year. And yeah, it was definitely St. Clair was going into St. Clair was as low as I've ever been fishing wise. But boy, it turns around real quick. It's amazing how quick you can get confidence and get hot all of a sudden and feel like, boy, I'm one of the best in the world now. It's the roller coaster that confidence is in fishing is unbelievable. When you have it, everything goes your way and there's nothing you can do to stop it. When you don't have it, it's not a fun place to be. It's wild if you think about it. It really is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I see it in angler, like literally, and I've said this a bunch on here. Well, you can take it any angler, and I'm like, that's a different angler this year, just because it just starts going right, and they're a totally different, the way they stand, the way they carry themselves. Like, dude, I think a prime example of it is literally, and I encourage everyone to go watch the first video he posted and watch the last video. Like, that's literally a handful of days, and you can see in your body language all of a sudden, just by getting positive comments, not by catching them and not by getting more money or whatever, but by, like, in all intents and purposes, you should have been a lot lower on the second video because you just lost 2 sponsors, but you're actually higher. Do you think this will make you a better angler just by being more honest and open? Like, you're not hiding the fact of the struggle anymore.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's going to help me mentally for sure, that knowing that, I'm not the only one out there that's going through the same struggles. There's a lot of us that struggle with the same things. And I feel like it's easier to focus and concentrate when you're not the only one out there. You feel like you realize there's people to talk to if you're not, if it's not going the way you want to. You're not alone out there, that's for sure. But definitely, I definitely think it helps. And the way last season ended, going into this year, I feel like my confidence is where I feel like it needs to be, because for me, I feel like I'd be a whole lot. I have to find a way as an angler to be a whole heck of a lot more consistent. I mean, you've seen it on the Elite Series. When I get going, I get going. There's no, like, I'll put myself in contention to win when I get going. It's either have a really good tournament or I have a really bad one. Like, there's never been in between. Like, I'll get hot and I'll reel off a couple top 10s in a row, and then it's like, the bottom falls out, and everything changes all of a sudden. So once I learn how to be more consistent, I hate it for everyone else. Let me put it that way. I don't want that to sound cocky, but when I fish how I'm capable, I can be very scary. I've shown that on several tournaments.
What do you feel? Do you feel, if anything, changed in you between when I first met you and called you the paper boy? Because literally the reason I called him the paper boy is because I'm like, you literally at that time, you were so young. You looked like the kid who delivered papers on my street. And I'm like, this kid's going to the Classic. And you literally look like the kid who comes and collects money at my house for the newspaper. But I feel like, and maybe it was just the downtroddenness of the tough situation of being on the elites and it not going exactly how you had planned. But I feel like that Jacob Foutz had a lot more sparkle and vigor, if so to speak. Like, and maybe it was just youthful, naivety or whatever it was. But do you feel like the person who started fishing the elites was a lot different than that person, or am I reading that wrong?
I feel like when I fished the Classic and all, I feel like I was just enjoying all that. So I was taking all that in, and it was like, well, I know this is probably a one-time deal here. Like as far as that experience goes, being the college kid that does it. And as far as I know, I'm the youngest ever fishing the Classic. I can't. That's
How
what
old
I've been
were you
told.
for that?
I was 19 when I fished the Classic. So as far as I know, I'm the youngest. So I can't confirm that. So at that point, I was just taking. I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe all that was happening. Like, because 2 years prior, or let me think. 2 years prior, I sat in the stands and watched the Classic. Like, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here at some point, and it's crazy how fast it happened. 2 years later, I was fishing in the Classic. So it was, I don't know. It was a whole lot more. I was just enjoying it as much as anything. I'm sure I've changed in some aspects. I'm probably way more competitive now. I think when I fished the Classic, I didn't necessarily believe that I belonged to be there. It just in the fact that fishing against those guys, I hadn't. I'd never fished against those guys. I was fishing against guys I've looked up to for my whole life.
Yeah,
my whole life. So it's like, it's kind of hard to be like, boy, am I really here right now? Is this really happening? And then when you get to when I got to the Elite Series, I'm like, okay, I earned my way to be here. And then it was just full steam ahead, kind of blinders on. I was trying to prove myself, so to say. So that might be where the difference is. And I'm sure the financial struggles and everything my rookie year wasn't a whole lot better than this year, to be honest with you. It was a lot of the same, but I was happy to be there.
Yeah.
And it was highs and lows my first year, but this last year was definitely the first. I just never could get it going in the first 6 tournaments. So everything kind of built up to a point where I was like, you start questioning everything again. And it's like, do I belong? Am I supposed to be here? And then I don't know, you can't, it's all a learning experience. So there's always something to take away from the hard times, for sure. I think you definitely take away a whole lot more than when things are going your way and you can do no wrong.
If you could do it all over again, your Elite Series career, like if there's a genie in a bottle and said, you're an Elite Series rookie again, and you're starting this all over again, would you do anything different, or do you think you needed to go through what you've gone through to get to where you are now?
Yeah, no, I try not to look back and think about what I could have done differently. I feel like you go through things for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. You might not necessarily understand why everything got hard all of a sudden, but you just persist and prevail. And I feel like everything's a learning experience. You go through certain things for a reason, and yeah, you might not know now, but in time you'll look back and be like, okay, I'm glad I'm glad I went through that. I learned a whole heck of a lot, and I think down the road, everything that happens in the past will help you at some point down the road. So I try not to look back, and you can look back and wish like what I did with those two videos. I'm like, man, I wish I would have done something like that sooner. Had put it out there, maybe my rookie year, put it out there and say, it's, maybe I could have done it a whole lot sooner, but it can go both ways too. Maybe I do it sooner and nothing ever came of it, and I didn't get the response that I've gotten now, and I just kind of got discouraged there too, and didn't do that. So, I try not to look back and think about anything I could have changed. Like I said, everything, I'm a believer in everything happens for a reason. So I just roll with the punches, good or bad, even if it's not what you want.
It's a wise way to look at things. I mean, you can't go back anyways. It's just and I agree with you. I don't know that if you say you're going to be honest, you're, like you said, in your rookie season, you were just happy to be there. You know what I mean? And I feel like from the outside, obviously I just stand beside you guys, but from the outside, it just feels like that it is so important for a rookie to get off to a good start, because what you just said a few minutes ago, wondering if you deserve to be there. I mean, you qualified to be there, but everybody that comes over, whether they come from another league, whether they come, they're rookies qualifying, they all question, can I hang with these guys? Can I hang on this tour? And I think that first few events, it's so important to get off to a good I mean, Jay Shakurik's a prime example. Obviously, Jay can catch him, but Jay, I mean, him and his parents straight up told me, like, when he qualified, he's like, we don't know that he's ready, but we also know how hard it is to qualify, and we don't know that we could pass up on this. Well, they didn't pass up on it. They fished, and he had a few good ones to start. And I mean, I don't remember him having a bad one. What does it feel like as that pressure builds on you as an angler?
It's freaking scary. It's you get to, I'd say it's the same for most of us. Most of us had worked our whole lives to get there, and then you get there and it's like, oh gosh, I really have to catch them now, because you only get 2 guaranteed years, and if you don't perform, you get the boot. And it's scary, because you realize that you might, even if you have a good year, a decent year, your first year, like I don't want to say I had a good year my first year. I was having a really good year up until the last 2 events my rookie year, and then I finished like next to last in both the last 2 events, and it kind of ruined the whole season for me. I missed the Classic. I think I finished 49th in points that first year. Like, you going into the last 2, I had a chance at Rookie of the Year. I was only like 11 points behind Jay going into those tournaments, and all of a sudden it goes south, and you're like, oh gosh. And then the pressure cranks up even more the second year, especially if you just had a subpar year the first year. You're like, I really got to catch them this year, because these guys catch them better than anyone in the world, and you can't be average and hang around very long against those guys, because they will absolutely catch them, and you have to be at your best every week, and if not, you will get the boot quickly. But it's unbelievably tense, and it's stressful. It is. I don't know that the stress will ever go away. You're always going to be fighting for a spot, especially if you've been middle of the pack like I have my first 2 years. So I can't afford a bad year going forward. You know what I mean?
Would you not say that stress that comes with anything like this, in the way that the difference in fishing is, you're building credit card debt, and that's horrible. It's the way our sport works. I mean, if anything could change, you'd love to see that change. Obviously, the debt that people bring on, but the pressure is no different than a kid that's trying to stay on a team somewhere, because it's not the financial pressure, but man, it is that same pressure. They want to, this is their dream. So when you to take part in something like that. That like I don't think the pressure's ever going to go away. Do you?
No, there's pressure in all aspects of life. It's not just unique to fishing. It's unique to everyone and everything and everyone's dreams. It's in your job, it's everywhere. It's always there, and you can either embrace it or you can let it tear you down. I know me personally, I've always felt like I know for a fact I've always done my very best when my back's been up against the wall at its hardest point. Like this year is a prime example. I was backed into a corner. I mean, I was not getting any further into the corner than I was this year. I knew what I had to do, and I got myself in the same corner last year, or I put the pressure on myself where I felt like I was in that corner, especially after, like my rookie year, after the first three, I had three bad ones, and it was like, oh gosh, like I think after my first three tournaments, I was hurting financially that year too, and we came to Chickamauga, and it's my home lake, and I'm like, well, you got to catch him here. I'm gonna have to start thinking about some things, and caught him. And another example would be when I was in college after my freshman year, I was going to drop out because I hated it. And so the summer I dropped out, I got a full-time job working at Amazon, and me and my partner qualified for the Bassmaster National Championship. My coach was like, we'll give you this last tournament to go fish. And boy, I walked around that Amazon warehouse like, God, that was stupid. Why did I do that? And I knew my only avenue back in to it was winning the national championship. And for 6 weeks, I walked around that warehouse and talked myself into winning that championship. And
wow,
went up there and won. And like, yeah, I can't make it up. Like, dude, I talked myself into winning that tournament. There was no way I wasn't going up there and not winning. There was not a shot I wasn't going up there and not winning. Like I can't describe it. Like I'm going to sound cocky, but I knew before I ever got there I was going to win. I've never had this feeling since, and I don't know that I'll ever have that feeling again. But I knew before I got there that I was going to win. It's the weirdest thing. I've always performed better the more pressure I can put on myself. In a way, I feel it's, obviously there was a pile of pressure last year, and I didn't catch them until I guess when the pressure was at its highest.
But yeah, when you had to, you caught them.
When I had to, I did it, and I've always been that way. So it's a weird dynamic, and I don't want to always be the person that has to. I don't always want to have to catch them when the pressure is. I want to catch them all the time. I don't just want to catch them when I'm backed into a corner.
I had never heard that before. So you were the collegiate champion, and you weren't even in school anymore. You were literally.
I wasn't even enrolled in school at the time. So when I won that.
But you had qualified when you were in school, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, I qualified my freshman year, and after winning the national championship, I still wasn't sure I was going to go back. I figured if I won the bracket, I would be like, okay, I probably have to go back. So, this is another funny story. Won the national championship, and they had us backstage after, and they told us the location of the bracket. And for those that don't know, I'm a big hockey fan. I'm a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. My favorite player in the world is Sidney Crosby, right? And they handed us the piece of paper that had all the info for the bracket, and it was Crosby, Minnesota. And I'm like, this is too good to be true. I like, that was another deal. I knew I was going to win before I got there. I knew it was meant to be.
Wow. That's a great, that's an incredible story. I can't believe. Do you think that story was kind of like hidden a little bit? Because it doesn't make as good a story of this kid came out of the Amazon warehouse.
Yeah, no, it's too good to be true is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think people would believe it, but that's the truth. I walked around that warehouse for 6 weeks and talked myself into winning that thing. There was no I hated working there, and I'm like, there's no way this is not what I'm supposed to do.
Wow. That's incredible. That really is, to me, I'm amazed that I've never heard that before. But so how do you change it so that you will yourself into winning the rest of them? Or is that the $1 million question?
That's $1 million question. I don't know how all that works. Obviously, if a person could ever figure it out, boy, he would be a wealthy man in a hurry. But I don't know. It's just it's just one of those deals. You can't explain it.
One of the problems of being open, I think there's nothing but positive for being yourself and being open. And like I said, you've heard me say that a bunch of times, be who you are. But other problem with that is people take it in many different directions. Since you've released your videos, there has been a bunch of videos spawn off of your videos. And I've heard everything, one of them has Jacob Foutz canceled himself in the fishing industry is the title of one of them. And I get it. Titles are titles on YouTube, obviously.
It's all clickbait.
But what is your take on any of those videos?
I haven't watched any of them.
Really?
No, I haven't. I haven't paid any attention to them. I've seen them, but I haven't watched them yet. I think it's cool with me. People talking about me, that I don't think that does anything but help me, good, bad, or in between. Personally, you can it's all good to me.
I watched them all, just so you know, all those videos. And one of the most disturbing things is the comments, always is. But it feels like your story has become a springboard for people's narratives in the way that, people are like, and this is why Bass should stop charging entry fees. And this is why, and other people are blaming sponsors. Other people are blaming. Who are you blaming in this situation?
Me. There's no one else to blame but yourself, really. It's most everything I've gotten and received and had happened to me in the industry. It's your own doing. It is. Let me just make that clear. I feel like a lot of my video, you could have spun it that I was taking a shot at the industry, and I was a little bit. I was expressing my frustrations with the industry and the fact that it goes both ways. I felt like the highest level guys should get a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt in the fact that you fish at the very highest level. You do hold some level of value to companies, yeah. And I've felt like we weren't getting like there's no value there to that anymore, which is frustrating. But also at the same time, that's just not the way the industry is. So you have to adapt. That's the way it's always been that way, and it will always be that way. You as a person have to take a look in the mirror and adapt and do what you have to do to bring some kind of value to the industry, whether it be what I did or what Scott Martin's done with his channel, or Brandon Polinick, or just all these guys that have carved out their own little niche in the industry and are who they are. There's no one to blame but yourself. That, and call me a whiner, call me a beggar, call me entitled. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm the one looking in the mirror and trying to make the change myself. I was just putting it out there for everyone to hear that this is my experience. This is how I'm going to try to adapt. I will share my experiences along the way.
So do you think the industry has changed, or do you think your perception of the industry has changed?
I think it's both. I know the industry has changed with the introduction of social media and things of that. And people's marketing plans have changed based around social media. It's not all about catching them anymore. Like, back before social media, it was all the guys that caught them the best got paid the most money, and it's not always. That's not necessarily the case now. It's a lot more based around social media. But I feel like I feel like the industry has been this way for longer than I've been fishing the Elite Series, and it just took me a while to my perception of the industry was what it was when I was growing up, when social media wasn't a big deal at all. Social media has only been around for 10, 15 years now.
Yeah.
It's not been around very long at all. And I think really in the last 5 to 6 years is when it's kind of, everyone's really, really embraced it the most, and it's grown exponentially. So I feel like that question goes both ways, that the industry has changed, and also my perception of the industry has changed as well.
Yeah. Because I do feel like, yeah, social media has totally changed things. I mean, it's changed the world. It's changed how everybody, I mean, at one time, Coca-Cola or whatever company, they could decide what people saw in advertising. Now there's, if you have a voice, as you've proved the last few weeks, you went from having a channel that had a couple of hundred subscribers to now having 2 videos in a row that are over 30,000. And we're recording this on Monday. So I'm predicting by the time this airs on Wednesday, it'll be even more than that. But I also feel like that belief of, like, you just catch them and I think when people give that advice to people, like, just focus on catching them, I think the reason they say that is because there's way too many people, young anglers, that are focused on everything other than catching them. And if you don't catch them, I mean, every problem in pro fishing is fixed by catching them to a certain degree. But that
Absolutely.
being said, you look at, like, the leaders pre-social media, Kevin Van Dam, what social media was to him was corresponding with 30 or 40 different writers for magazines on a weekly basis. And so I feel like it's always been the angler that sells the most product reaps the most reward. Yeah, in strict competition, but it's never been a sport where people have tried to, like, the bulk of their income comes from their partners, not from what they win. So I think that it has changed, like you say, and I think it'll continue to change. I mean, how old are you?
25.
25. Well, dude, if this career works out the way you want it, there's going to be 20 years from now when you are literally, 20 years from now, you're hitting kind of your peak as a pro angler, supposedly. That it's amazing how young you are. But if you look at the next 20 years, how many changes are going to happen? And I think in some ways you ushered in one of the biggest changes, in this past week, because your openness and your honesty. I mean, and I don't look at it as a slight towards companies. I don't look at it. What I saw is a video of somebody being honest and just showing their frustration, because you have worked your ass off to get to where you are. And it's not quite the happily ever after story that you thought it would be. But I think you just already made things a lot better. And as long as it continues, I hope to look at you a year, 2 years from now and be like, that was your turning point.
Yeah, no, that's what I want this to be, a turning point in my career, to where I can start to become more of a better, consistent angler. I really do feel like I'm going to win soon. I feel like it's coming. I've knocked on the door several times in my first 2 years. I've been right there several times. I feel like it's coming. I just have to learn to be more consistent. When I do that, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot better for me. But like you're saying, as much as anything, I was just opening up and expressing my frustration with myself, with everything that's happened. It's mostly frustration with myself, and the fact that I've just been so damn stubborn and I can see what's going on, and I can't get away from, I couldn't step out of my shell. I couldn't get out of my comfort zone and do something that made me uncomfortable. And that's what you have to do in life if you want to take a step forward. So yeah, hopefully I want this to be a turning point. I'm looking forward to next year more than you could possibly imagine. I think it's going to be a good year for sure. And good things are coming. I really do really do believe that.
I agree. I think, and I just think being comfortable in your own skin is always, I mean, confidence, comfort, all of those things go towards making this be the story that you want it to be. Dude, how nervous were you to hit send on that first video? Because it's not who you are. It is who you are in the video, but laying it out there is not who you are.
Actually, it was almost, there was a bit of relief when I
Really?
it just felt like it was something I was supposed to do. I don't know how to describe it. It was, I was nervous to what it could possibly become, and what the opportunities it gave people to spin their own narrative and think. I knew what I was trying to do, and not, I realized not everyone is going to see it the same way I saw it, and people are going to think what they thought. And but it was okay. I felt like it was something I had to do, and there was a little bit of relief, to be completely honest with you.
Did you have a moment or a comment or something that came in where you were like, I think I'm okay? Or did you just not even, did you post it and not even pay attention initially?
No, so it only took about 2 or 3 hours before my phone started blowing up, and people were messaging me on Facebook, and text messages were going off, and like everything was all supportive. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is gaining some traction here. This is really cool to see the support I'm getting from this. And it's been all good. I've read through a lot of the comments on there, and I'd say 98% of them are all good, and the negative ones they can say what they want. It is what they are entitled to think what they think. Doesn't bother me.
You're a competitive angler. You're going to see, I mean, and now you're a YouTuber. You're going to see, I mean, literally, I mean, Gerald Swindle says it best. And I might have said this to you in some of our texts or whatever, or maybe I didn't, but, and I give people this advice all the time because it's Swindle and it's perfect. He's like, people on the internet hate Jesus, and he's never done nothing to anybody. So, it is, you're going to get some hate, but dude, being yourself. And I'll be honest, I got really happy when I saw the second video. Me and you had corresponded, I texted you as soon as I saw it. But when I saw your second video, I'm like, this dude is more himself. You know what I mean? Like the same excitement. Like, you might be a quiet dude, but whenever I've talked to you over the years, whether it's just a quick talk at a boat or whatever, like there's an excitement and a passion that's in you that in that first video, you didn't seem to have that anymore, that spark. And I think that spark is a huge part of what's going to make you successful. It's a huge part of who you are. And I believe in you, dude. And I really, I want to do, I mean, most of these shows it's just joking and bull crapping, but I always tell you guys to be real, to be honest. And when somebody is real and honest, I feel it's my job to kind of support them and do what I
Right.
can to get your voice out there. So I hope that a bunch of people that watch this subscribe to your channel. I'll put the links and everything. But dude, I have faith in you, so much faith. And you may not remember that, and you obviously remember it, but you may not think I have this. But still to this day, I have the actual paper.
I can't believe you have that.
Of course, I have the actual paper that you presented to me on the stage. And for those that don't know the story, as I said, he was kind of a pimple-faced paper boy look when I first met him. And I'm like, how can this guy be going to the Classic? And I asked you at that event, which was before the Classic, I'm like, will the paper boy deliver at the Bassmaster Classic? And you nailed it on stage. You're like, yeah, the paper boy will deliver or whatever. But he walked across the final day Classic stage and he handed me this and said, the paper boy always delivers. And dude, I think you might be the paper boy again. because it's just a whole different kind of paper we're talking about.
That's right.
now. There you have it. The one and only paper boy, Jacob Foutz, once again delivers. And I cannot wait to read the comments from you fine folks about this show, because I think you got a lot of things going on there. I think that the belief of happily ever after, it's one of the worst things we're all taught, because it's something that happens in storybooks and not in real life. You can make it to the NFL. You could be the first round draft pick, but if you don't deliver, it goes away. You can make it to the Elite Series. The phones aren't just going to pick up themselves and start calling you and offering you sponsorship. What you're trying to do is incredibly hard. Whether you're you're the 1% of 1%ers that get a chance to do that. And I think a lot of people realize, they come to the Elite Series and they honestly feel like this is it. I've done my work. I made it here. But it's a second gear you got to shift it into when you get in the Elite Series, and that's just not on the water. That's off the water. That's delivering companies what they want. And I think he's realizing that, and I know he's realizing that. I mean, when I asked him straight up who's to blame for this, he said me, himself. That he's taking it on his own shoulders, but I think he's going through something that a lot of 25-year-olds go through, where they realize, wow, it's not going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. It's tough. Tournament fishing's tough. Standing out in the pro fishing world's tough, and it gets tougher every year because there's more and more competition. But it gets a lot easier when you're real, when you're yourself. And it's amazing what a little bit of support will do for somebody. And if you look at Jacob Foutz's 2 videos from last week, you look at the difference in his body language, the way he's talking. You guys changed that for him in the comments by supporting him, by saying it's okay to be you. It's okay to be the person that you are. You don't have to fit into this mold. I think what he's doing is very unique, very different, but it's him, and it's real. And if you're a fan of, he has some problems, as I told him. You stop saying you don't care, because you do. Stop saying you hate people, because you don't. You just hate that element of interaction with people, and I get that. Even an outward person like me has things that I don't like to do, but you don't get a chance to say, I don't like to do in real life. You just, as the saying goes, you've seen it on t-shirts and all around the world, nobody cares, work harder. And I think you're seeing that with Jacob Foutz. I think, the numbers prove that you're seeing that. What he is growing in such a short period of time on YouTube is amazing. But it is also amazing how a group of people making comments can totally change somebody's body language, somebody's self-worth. And I think we're seeing the start of something good with Jacob Foutz. And if you're a fan of honesty and openness, you should be a fan of Jacob Foutz. But that's just my thought. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, I know this has been a different one. You never know what direction this show is going to go. We'll be back with another one next week. But until then, Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?